The Holy Quran, translated in English by Talal Itani, 2021 edition. Web address www.clearquran.org.
Quran Chapter 8. In the name of Allah, the kind, the caring. They ask you about the bounties. Say, the bounties are for Allah and the Messenger. So remain conscious of Allah, settle your disputes, and obey Allah and His Messenger, if you are believers. Believers are those whose hearts tremble when Allah is mentioned, and when His revelations are recited to them, they strengthen them in faith, and they trust in their Lord. Those who perform the prayer and spend from what we provided for them. These are the true believers. They enjoy a high status with their Lord, and forgiveness, and a generous provision. Even as your Lord brought you out of your home for a purpose, some believers objected to it. They argue with you about the truth after it became clear, as if they were led to death while they watch. Allah promised that one of the two groups would be yours, but you wanted the unarmed group. Allah intends to establish the truth with His words, and to uproot the unbelievers. To establish the truth and destroy lies, even though the guilty hate it. When you appealed to your Lord for help, He answered you, I'm reinforcing you with 1,000 angels in formation. Allah only made it a message of hope, and to soothe your hearts. Victory comes from Allah alone. Allah is mighty and wise. He caused drowsiness to overcome you, as serenity from Him. And He sent rain from the sky for you, to cleanse you with it, and to rid you of Satan's pollution, and to fortify your hearts, and to strengthen your footing. Your Lord inspired the angels. I'm with you, so strengthen the believers. I will terrify the hearts of the unbelievers. So strike above their necks, and cut off their fingertips. This is because they turned against Allah and His Messenger. Whoever turns against Allah and His Messenger, Allah is severe in punishment. So taste it. The unbelievers will have the suffering of the fire. O you who believe, when you face the unbelievers on the march, never turn your backs on them. On that day, whoever turns his back, except in a tactical retreat, or to join another group, has incurred wrath from Allah, and his home is hell, a terrible destination. It wasn't you who killed, but it was Allah who killed them. Nor did you launch when you launched, but it was Allah who launched. To test the believers with a positive test. Allah is the listener, the knower. So it was. Allah undermines the strategy of unbelievers. If you seek victory, then victory has come to you. But if you abstain, it will be better for you. And if you come back, we'll come back. Your army will avail you nothing, no matter how big it is. Allah is with the believers. O you who believe, obey Allah and His Messenger, and don't turn away from Him while you hear. And don't be like those who said, we've heard, when they didn't listen. The worst creatures in Allah's sight are the deaf and dumb, those who refuse to think. If Allah had seen good in them, He would have made them hear. And if He had made them hear, they would have turned away defiantly. O you who believe, answer Allah and the Messenger when He calls you to what revives you. And know that Allah intervenes between a person and his heart, and that you'll be gathered before Him. And beware of disputes that wouldn't affect only the wrongdoers among you, and know that Allah's punishment is severe. Remember when you were few, oppressed in the land, and afraid of being wiped out. But He protected you, and He made you strong with His help, and He gave you good things, so that you may be grateful. O you who believe, don't intentionally betray Allah and the Messenger, and don't intentionally be disloyal to your trusts. And know that your wealth and children are an ordeal, and that Allah has a great reward. O you who believe, if you stay conscious of Allah, He'll give you a standard, wash away your sins, and forgive you. Allah is infinite in favor. As the unbelievers conspired to capture you, or kill you, or expel you. They conspired, and Allah planned, but Allah is the best planner. When our verses are read to them, they say, "We've heard." If we wanted, we could have said something similar. These are just myths of the ancients. And they said, "Our God, if this is the truth from you, then rain on us stones from heaven, or bring upon us a painful affliction." But Allah won't punish them while you're among them. And Allah won't punish them while they ask for forgiveness. And why shouldn't Allah punish them when they prevent others from entering the holy sanctuary, although they aren't its keepers? Its keepers are only the righteous, but most of them don't know. Their prayer in the house was nothing but whistling and applause. So, taste the punishment for your disbelief. The unbelievers spend their wealth to turn away from Allah's path. They'll spend it, then it will become a source of regret for them, then they'll be defeated. The unbelievers will be banished to hell. For Allah to separate the wicked from the good, pile the wicked on one another, pile them up, and throw them in hell. These are the losers. Tell unbelievers, if they cease, the past will be forgiven. But if they return, the practice of the ancients is over. Fight them until there is no more persecution, and religion becomes only for Allah. But if they stop, Allah sees what they do. But if they turn away, know that Allah is your protector. What an excellent protector, and what an excellent helper. Whatever spoils you gain, know that its fifth belongs to Allah, the Messenger, the relatives, the orphans, the needy, and the homeless, provided you believe in Allah, and in what we revealed to our servant on the day of separation, on the day the two groups met. Allah is capable of anything. When you were on the nearer bank, and they were on the farther bank, and the caravan was below you. If you had planned this meeting, you would have disagreed on where and when. But Allah had to do what was predestined. So that whoever perished would perish in an obvious way, and whoever survived would survive in an obvious way. Allah is the listener, the knower. Allah made them appear as few in your dream. If He had made them appear as many, you would have faltered, and you would have argued about it. But Allah saved the situation. He knows the inner thoughts. When you met, He made them appear to you as few, and He made you appear fewer to them, so that Allah could conclude what was predetermined. All matters return to Allah. O you who believe, when you face a force, stand firm and remember Allah much, so that you may prevail. Obey Allah and His Messenger, and don't quarrel among yourselves, lest you falter and lose courage. And persevere. Allah is with those who endure. And don't be like those who boastfully left their homes, showing off to people, and preventing others from following Allah's path. Allah understands what they do. Satan made their deeds attractive to them, and he said, "No one can defeat you today, and I'm near you." But when the two groups clashed, he turned on his heels, and he said, "I have nothing to do with you. I see what you can't see. I fear Allah. Allah's punishment is severe." When the hypocrites and the sick at heart said, "Their faith deceives these people." Whoever puts his trust in Allah, Allah is mighty and wise. If only you could see, as the angels recover the unbelievers, hitting their faces and backs, taste the agony of burning. This is because of what your hands have produced. Allah never wrongs creation. Like the behavior of Pharaoh's people and those before them, they rejected Allah's signs, so Allah seized them for their sins. Allah is powerful, stern in retribution. This is because Allah never changes a blessing He bestowed on a people until they change what's within them. Allah is listener and knower. So it was with Pharaoh's people and those before them. They denied their Lord's signs, so we destroyed them for their misdeeds. And we drowned Pharaoh's people. They were all criminals. The worst creatures, according to Allah, are the deniers. They refuse to believe. Those with whom you made a treaty, but they violate their agreement at every opportunity. They aren't righteous. If you come against them in battle, make them a terrifying example, so that those after them may be deterred. If you fear betrayal from people, break with them in like manner. Allah doesn't like traitors. Don't let the unbelievers assume that they are ahead. They won't escape. Prepare against them all the forces you can muster, and all the cavalry you can mobilize, to terrify Allah's enemies and your enemies, and others whom you don't know, but Allah knows them. Everything you spend in Allah's path will be returned to you, and you won't be mistreated. But if they incline towards peace, incline towards it, and put your trust in Allah. He's the listener, the knower. If they intend to deceive you, Allah is enough for you. He strengthened you with His support, and with the believers. And He united their hearts. Even if you spent everything on earth, you couldn't have united their hearts, but Allah united them. He is mighty and wise. O Prophet, count on Allah and on the believers who follow you. O Prophet, rouse the believers to battle. If there are 20 persevering ones among you, they can defeat 200. And if there are 100 of you, they can defeat 1,000 unbelievers, because they don't understand. Now Allah lightened your burden, knowing that there is some weakness in you. If there are 100 persevering ones among you, they can defeat 200. And if there are 1,000 of you, they can defeat 2,000 by Allah's permission. Allah is with the patient. It's not for a prophet to take prisoners before he has conquered the land. You want the materials of this world, but Allah wants the hereafter. Allah is almighty and wise. Were it not for an earlier decree of Allah, a terrible punishment would have afflicted you for what you took. So consume what you've acquired, legitimate and wholesome, and remain conscious of Allah. Allah is forgiving and merciful. O Prophet, tell the prisoners you hold, if Allah finds good in your hearts, He'll give you better than what was taken from you, and He'll forgive you. Allah is forgiving and merciful. But if they intend to betray you, they've already betrayed Allah, and He overpowered them. Allah is all-knowing and wise. The believers who emigrated and struggled for Allah's cause with their wealth and lives, and those who gave them refuge and support, are protectors of each other. Those who believed but didn't emigrate, you aren't responsible for them until they emigrate. But if they ask for your help for religious reasons, you must help them, except against people with whom you have a treaty. Allah sees what you do. Believers protect each other. If you don't do the same, there will be much persecution and violence in the land. The believers who emigrated and struggled for Allah's cause, and those who gave shelter and support, these are the true believers. They'll have forgiveness and generous provision. Those who later believed and emigrated and struggled with you, these are with you. But family relationships have the strongest right in Allah's book. Allah knows everything.